Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and this video is inspired by one of my Patreons. Don, this one is for you. Thank you so much for the suggestion, and thank you so much for connecting. And many of you have asked, what would it be like to take that 7 toxic family systems video and talk about the alternative for the healthy family system in each one of those 7. So that's what we're gonna get into. That's what this video is about. So let's go through that list and explore the mirror image of each one. And you know, no family is perfect. And while this list may sound idealistic to you guys, there are healthy families out there that exhibit these qualities on this list that I've created. And, you know, we can all agree that the toxic families can definitely do better. And we need to really raise the bar as cycle breakers, meaning like those of us who are going through generational trauma and we've made the conscious decision to work on ourselves and break the cycle of that generational trauma, that let's just all agree to like contribute to raising that bar about creating healthier relationships, healthy family systems, because to be honest, I think that that's what's gotten the world into this mess, is what happens in how we treat each other and how we treat children in their childhood. And you know, we can also really look at our parenting and change that for the better. If you are a parent watching this and want to shift into what more of a healthy system or healthy parenting style would look like, I hope that this video is helpful to you guys. And discussing what healthy families look like is very helpful for processing our own trauma, because it gives us a perspective about what was missing growing up. It's like those role play videos that I do, and what I learned from my mentor Amanda Curtin is that when you do the role play of the healthy version, that's actually where the grief starts, because it hits our system about what would our lives been like if we had healthy parents when we were struggling with those situations. In this video, I'm going to be using one of my favorite tools from a self-help book that I've ever come across. The book is called Healthy Parenting by a woman named Janet Woititz. She's writing about parenting from a place of codependency or growing up in an alcoholic family system, but it's an amazing book about our own sort of parenting styles and what we experienced in childhood. And the handout that I use from this book is she does this list of top 10 healthy family system traits contrasted by toxic family system traits. And you know what, I'm just going to read them right now so we can get into them. So here they are. So I am going to be reading from my screen here, like with my notes. So number 1, in a healthy family, the job of the parents is to take care of the children. The toxic family system, in an unhealthy family system, the job of the children is to take care of the parents. Number 2, in a healthy family, messages are clear and understood. If not, they can be questioned. In an unhealthy family, there are double messages leading to confusion and guessing. Number 3, in a healthy family, the child is always loved, even if the child's behavior is unacceptable. And in an unhealthy family, the child is shamed and the child is confused with the behavior. Like, what just happened there? Why did I get shamed for not wanting to kiss grandma that I've met for the first time? That kind of thing. Number 4, in a healthy family, personal boundaries are respected. In a toxic family, in an unhealthy family, personal boundaries are unclear and often violated. Hands down, my favorite one on this list. In a healthy family, all feelings are tolerated. In an unhealthy family, feelings are often violated and therefore repressed. Number 6, in a healthy family, the parent is the teacher and the guide. In an unhealthy family, children bring themselves up as best as they can. Number 7, in a healthy family, there are reasonable limits and structure. In an unhealthy family, there is chaos or extreme rigidity. In a healthy family, demands on the children are age appropriate, developmentally age appropriate. In an unhealthy family, the child is asked to demonstrate pseudo-maturity or is infantilized. And the last 2 here, number 9, in a healthy family, children are affirmed regularly and automatically. That's like, I love you, I appreciate you. In an unhealthy family, children are often made to feel unlovable and unworthy. Number 10, in a healthy family, there's organization and planning, as well as the ability to respond to a crisis. In an unhealthy family, members respond from one crisis to the next, and then when crises don't exist, they create them. So you can see just how useful that list is, and it was just one of the most useful things I've ever come across. Buy this book. It's worth every penny. It's worth its weight in gold, and I'll have the link in the description of this video. And the book is helpful for you to look at your own parenting or to help yourself process some of your own childhood. So if you're new to me, welcome to the channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can't miss with any of those buttons. If you find that these videos are helpful to you in your recovery, you can consider supporting my Patreon. If you want to get in touch with me or connect with me, you can do that through my website. You can do that through Instagram. And if you're interested in some of my e-course work, there's going to be a link in one of these descriptions that'll take you right to my website, and you can just sort of find that route through there. So there's that. So before I begin, an important note is that I truly think healthy parenting is about having our own emotional house in order to be a good enough parent. There are no sort of like angelic perfect parents. That might be the bar that is too high. But to have our own emotional house in order. Think about your own parents and ask yourself, did they take care of their mental health? Were they conscious about who they were and what they were doing as parents? Did they even wonder how they were doing as parents? What would they say if we asked them, do you think you had your own sort of emotional house in order? Would you get all that defensiveness or whatever, or victimization? And by having their own sort of house in order, did they refuse maybe going on meds when maybe they need them? Did they refuse going to 12-step programs or therapy or couples therapy? Were they aware of their rage, their shame, or their reactions at all? If you're watching this and if you're really hard on yourself as a parent, you're probably in the clear because you're watching this video. You may have things to work on, but most parents just are so triggered about sort of making sort of just parental sort of mistakes because they're contrasting themselves with their highly abusive families of origin. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Or in other words, would your parent ever be curious about a video like this or seek this stuff out? So that's what I mean by that. You know, I believe we are here in this generational cycle because our parents didn't have their emotional house in order to be good enough as good enough parents. Hopefully that makes sense. So let's get into the list. We've kind of rambled on long enough, so here we go. So if you remember the first one I put up was something called looks good on paper. The alternative to that, let's just call it looks or whatever. Two issues with sort of a healthy family, or two ideas about this kind of healthy family system is the parents aren't solely entrenched with how the family is seen. They don't care so much. And second, that children are allowed to become who they are or who they want to be. A healthy family values their children finding their own path and helps them on that path. They are more focused on what kind of kids they have and what works for those kids. And do this type of family system, do they want their children to grow up and have good jobs or go to good schools? Of course they do, but it's not like they are sort of rigid and controlling about what path or what they're sort of going to do. They are not ruled by that, and they put more stock in their children having their own process to becoming something, to become in line with who they are or who they were meant to become. It's like being attuned and knowing that you might not have you might not have a sports kid. You might not have a super academic kid. You might have a really sensitive, creative kid who's probably not going to love becoming a lawyer. Woititz doesn't have a specific, rule for this one, but if she did, it would be something like, in a healthy family system, the system is focused on authentic growth for their children. And an unhealthy family system focuses on it all looking like growth. There's a difference between those two things. And if you grew up in a family system like this, imagine if you grew up with parents that both knew who you were and supported what you wanted to become. So that's what I mean by a healthy family system in that one. Next, moving on, is ships in the night. And I had a little that they were estranged, not connected. Let's just call the healthy version of that is nurturing connections family system. I had a little bit of a difficult time. It's much easier to name something in the negative than it is to kind of like name something in the positive. So just think about this system, ships in the night. The opposite of that is the family system who cultivates connection. In a healthy system up top, the parents cultivate growth in their own marriage. They are bonded. They maybe go to couples. They may do date nights. They grow with each other as a pair. And they go towards each other for help rather than away from each other, of avoiding that intimacy. Like they use each other as a really healthy resource about the life kind of around them. For the kids are in a safe system that is focused also on them. It is child-centric, which is also something that Woititz talks about in that book. And they are cultivating connections between the kids and the adult and the kids, if they're siblings, kids with each other. The kids in this healthy system, they can go to their parents because it's safe. They're not just kind of like, what? They're not really neglected children. in the toxic example. A good example is, say, like, let's just say a family of 4, one of the kids is invited to a sleepover, but the parents sort of say, no, let's pause on that because this is one of the few weekends that we can go away as a family or connect as a family. And they're focused on that. They're thinking about that. They want that sort of family time with each other. Even if that's a bummer to the kid, and chances are if the family system is really healthy, it's not going to be such a bummer to like go camping in the woods with this sort of family. It's the family is really seeking out that kind of connection and looking for those opportunities to cultivate that connection. Within the busy life of a family, kids have games and school and there's jobs and all that kind of stuff. And a family that cultivates connection is helping the kids and the adults manage those outside stressors. Like that's, my mentor says every child needs a safe home base. So this type of healthy family system is creating that safe home base to make life manageable. An applicable Woititz quote on this one is the one about organization and planning. And you'll hear me read it again because it's coming up on the next one too. But to cultivate time and connection and put a value on that. Nope. Let me start all over there. An applicable Woititz quote on this one is the one about organization and planning. I'll read it in the next one because it's applicable to that one too. And lastly, imagine if you grew up in a system with parents that wanted to spend time with each other. And not only that, to cultivate that time with their children and enjoy that. That is definitely not how I grew up. So that's what I mean about a healthy family system in that way. Coming up next is the anti-love family. And this family, many of you identified with it. The opposite of this family, it's kind of blatant, it's just the love family, or what I call the Cherish family, just like the 80s Madonna song that I loved, and I loved the video because I was a little kid being cherished in that song by Madonna. And this one is more obvious, just love. Love between the parents, and the parents love what they've had created in their bond, or they're sort of joining to create children, and the children are cherished. Why have kids if you don't want to have that experience, that kind of connection and love? It's the whole point, like not just looking at it in life. It's like, oh, I guess I'll have kids and get married and settle down is like the next thing to do. That's what I mean about raising the bar. The Woititz quote on this one, in a healthy family system, children are affirmed regularly. In an unhealthy family system, children are made to feel unworthy and unlovable. And affirmed regularly is simply the spontaneous, oh my God, I love you, and there's appreciation for the kids that come from a wholehearted family. My favorite definition of love is wanting the person to be free. My second favorite definition is the idea that love is behavioral. And I think that the anti-love family, the toxic adults, make you feel like you owe them something. And that's not to feel free, and that's definitely sort of a toxic behavior. And imagine if you grew up in a family so cherished that it wasn't surprising or weird for you in the present when you were appreciated by a spouse or at a job or something like that. Most of my clients and trauma survivors, including myself, it would feel shocking or icky or weird when people would really see us and appreciate us. So that's what I mean by that. Next up is the chaos system. The reverse of it is sort of the stability system, a healthy family system that is secure and stable. Coming back to the Woititz quotes that I mentioned earlier in the last one is, in a healthy family system, there is organization and planning. In an unhealthy family system, members respond from one crisis to the next, and when they don't exist, they create crises. And that shook me when I read that for the first time. That really blew my mind because that's exactly kind of how I grew up. Organization and planning can mean so many different things. Planning could mean healthy parents might leave their assistant manager or grocery job position to become something like a registered nurse to make more money because they know that they need to plan more income and more stability and growth for their family. That's one idea of organization and planning. If it's a two-parent family, the parents are also doing things. They're a team. They're planning vacations, they're planning school drop-offs, teacher conference meetings, 401ks, birthdays, IEPs for the kids, resources for the family, organization and planning. They have their emotional house in order to kind of have it together to make these things happen. You know, growing up in my childhood, we'd see other families save for vacations. That blew our minds. We were like, who does that? Like, I was floored that families had it together enough to be that adulty. And like, this is what I mean about my parents didn't have their emotional house in order. And I don't mean to be rich enough to go on a vacation. It doesn't try not to think about that in terms of like sort of affluence. I just mean to like not have all the alcoholism and sort of holes in jobs and calling in sick and all this mess of it that a lot of us grow up in. To have, it doesn't really take much. I mean, what would our lives be like if our parents actually were secure about money or secure with their emotions? So in essence, the healthy version of this is about thriving, while the toxic version is about chaos in survival mode. And those are two very different things. And healthy family systems also meet their children's emotional needs by talking to them. Part of organization and planning is recognizing that the dog is probably going to need to the dog's having such medical problems, we're going to probably have to put them down. We're going to have to talk to the kids and really sort of hold their emotional space for them for losing the dog. That stuff doesn't exist in the chaos family. It's just like, where's the dog? The dog died. I don't know. And the dog was gone and there was no processing. So I really think in a healthy family system in this case is that basics are in place. And that totally reduces the stress on the parents and stress on the children to have those financial and emotional or organizational things in place. Imagine if you grew up in a system that was so safe and stable that you didn't even question or worry about the next emotionally insane thing or financially insane thing that you were going to have to deal with next. So that's what I mean by that one. So moving on, toxic divorce. Let's just call the healthy version healthy co-parenting, blending, and friendship. I could use 4 of the 10 Woititz quotes for this one, but here is my favorite one of the whole list, like I mentioned earlier. In a healthy family system, all feelings are tolerated. In an unhealthy family system, feelings are often violated and therefore repressed. I think toxic parents see their children's emotions as threats. That's what it was like for me. If you were mad, sad, upset, surprised, you would probably catch hell for that. So your feelings are not tolerated, so they all have to go underground. That's what all of us had to do in childhood. Another Woititz quote is, in a healthy family system, personal boundaries are clear and respected. In an unhealthy family system, personal boundaries are unclear and often violated. What I mean is, in the healthy divorce, all the feelings of sadness and confusion for the kids are addressed, not minimized or exploited. And in a healthy divorce, a parent is sensitive to not cross the boundary their children have with the other parent by trash talking them or disclosing too much or doing parent alienation. It is possible to go through a divorce and still respect your partner. Even be a friend to that partner. It is possible to welcome step-parents as part of the new blended family system when appropriate. It is possible to not introduce new dating partners too soon to the kids. It's possible to have solid communication about co-parenting, about school, friends, and whether or not like the 13-year-old is ready for a smartphone or not. Those kinds of communications and decisions, imagine if those were in place. It does happen. And it's possible to still be a team even though there's not a loving bond anymore. Imagine if you grew up with divorced parents that respected and appreciated each other and also respected and appreciated their relationships with you and the other parent. So that's what I mean by that one. Moving on. Is the second to last one is toxic single parent. That was on the toxic list. Let's just call it single parent who is conscientious and not burdening. Again, it was so much easier to name the toxic ones. So in this one, the Woititz quote I used for this one, in a healthy family system, the job of the parent is to take care of the children. In an unhealthy family system, the job of the children is to take care of the parents. And I could pull other ones applicable to this one from that list. Healthy single parents, despite the job and stress of doing it alone, they still make their children feel like safe children. For healthy single parents, the parental role is in place, even though they may have to deal with they do have to deal with the extra stress and lack of resources and holes in the parenting coverage. Healthy single parents might have the kids be a little bit more self-sufficient, but still maintains that it's not totally on those kids, that they have the parent as still a resource to them. Healthy single parents still want the job of parenting. Healthy single parents want their children to feel free and not overly worry about how the parent is doing. In these examples, the healthy parent knows what needs to be done and doesn't make the children feel like a burden for their existence in all that. And lastly on this is, imagine growing up with a single parent, if that was part of your story, that there wasn't any shame or you didn't even feel the difference really when you would have your friends be part of two-parent systems, that your needs and you were so safe, and the healthy parent, the healthy single parent had it together so much that you didn't even notice that you were sort of in a different type of family system, or it wasn't so loud. Hopefully that makes sense. Lastly is aggressor codependent. The healthy version of this, as I called it, healthy conflict and equality family. We could pull all the quotes from Woititz about this type of family system. In a healthy family, the messages are clear and understood. If not, they can be questioned. In an unhealthy family, there are double messages leading to confusion and guessing. I saw a TikTok video recently that was super funny. It was about a 4-member family on vacation, and they traded the phone to sort of do an interview to guess about which family member was going to get irritable and grumpy on the family vacation first. It came down to one of the parents. One of the parents wanted to get up at like 6 a.m. to go hiking, which I think was like the goal of the family vacation. And the rest of the family got up between like 8 and noon. So there's tension there. They jokingly decided that the father was going to get antsy and grumpy and the tension would be there, but they could laugh about it. And it seemed like to me they could kind of work it out. Plug that situation into your own family system growing up. If that applies to you, it doesn't have to be like a family vacation, but some kind of family event, like who would lose it first? In my own system, my own family, one parent would be hungover and the other one would rage and sabotage the situation. And as kids, you just couldn't ask questions. You couldn't be real or even be safe about it. You just had to kind of like hate it in silence. So healthy equality is about still respecting others when there is conflict or when there is disagreement. So when I think about the aggressor codependent, that's like a extreme version of tension and conflict played out over a long time with mental health stuff going on. But in a healthy family system, I think about how is conflict managed. So it's not like the aggressor comes first, which is supported by the toxic parent and everything is confusing and upside down. That's not equality. That's like one up, one down. And in a healthy family system, the kids don't feel the pull to support mom or support dad, or there isn't any gross loyalty issues or drama. Imagine if you grew up with parents who supported and respected each other, even if there was tension and disagreements. So I hope that video was helpful. And again, I can't recommend the Woititz book enough, Janet Woititz. I'll have the link in the description of this video, and ask questions, you guys, or comments. Would love to know what you think. And as always, guys, may you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be joyous. Take care, guys.